came here today to speak, and they wanted someone from the land to speak, California native. So I came to speak about the indigenous people.
I'm here supporting Monterey Bay Community Power. That's our new Tri-County electricity provider.
I came to tell them about the original people that were here. We only took what we needed. We didn't pollute the land. We didn't kill all the animals for money. We live very humble, and the belief we hold is that all human beings are related, whether you're this color, that color. We're all from the same grandmother Earth. And unless we work together, it's just going to keep getting worse, you know. So the world's being ruined, and there's a lot of knowledge that the ancient people had that we haven't even touched. You know, we think they were stupid or something, you know, we got to move on and make all this money. Well, they actually had the answers. And now all this technology, and we still don't have the answers. Mm-hmm. You got kids disrespecting their parents, their girlfriends, going to school, shooting up the classrooms. You know, all this technology, and everybody's just going backwards. Can't even pay attention to a 5-minute conversation with a kid, you know, or anybody, you know. And you can't drop knowledge on certain youth. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear rap music about Molly's and Percocet, and I just tell the truth. I don't sugarcoat it like I did here. You know, I did 21 years in the penitentiary with the worst gang members ever, and that's where I changed my life. I found the culture, the red road. I needed something.
So that's a good question. You know, how in that situation were you able to find that pathway back?
It was my grandmother. She came to she always visited me.
She did.
And I asked her one day, Folsom prison. I was in all of them, all level 4s. But she always visited me, and she told me one day that we were Native American, and I was surprised. And she told me the tribes from my dad's side, my mom's side. So I told a Native American in prison, I go, hey, this is my tribes. And he goes, I'm going to take you to the sweat lodge. And the first sweat lodge I went in, I sat in there really scared. I didn't know what was going on. When I came out, a Yurok, indigenous brother, he stared at me all surprised. And I said, what's wrong? And I was nervous. And he said, well, I seen 3 old men sitting behind you. They were green, the aura. And I said, is that bad? He goes, no, that's very good. He goes, you're walking with the elders, and you didn't even know it. So that's what made me go to the red road and help me change my whole life.
That our current paradigm, which is a very materialistic, reductionist worldview, where it takes the nature apart like a clock, has not served us well at all in terms of how humanity is going to survive. What is our trajectory as a species globally? So what we're finding out, remember I was talking about going through the bone marrow transplant and a near-death experience, and that was kind of my dark night of the soul journey and a long period of recovery.
It's always a tragic event.
You know, that's humanity. Your back's got to be against the wall before you're willing to change, right?
The web of life, everything's connected.
Everything's connected.
We're all connected.
Love, intention, and everything's connected.
That's why we got to take care of everything.
I need to go deal with
Peace.
Thank you so much.
You go,
Okay.
We're now living in a changed climate. We are no longer living in a stable climate which humanity has lived in for many thousands and thousands of years. This shift will likely affect every single one of us in this room and will affect 7 generations to come. There's the law of 7 generations, and what we do today in our life, in our families, in our communities, will impact 7 generations into the future. Every issue that we care about needs a livable habitat, a livable space. That means we need to do something. We need to be in action to stop polluting, to educate ourselves about the issues, and to ensure that we have time to address the issues that the community faces. niños de la comunidad que les gustaría aprender a bailar, las clases son gratis en la iglesia con la maestra Teresa. So, un aplauso una vez más para el grupo. So welcome, officially welcome to our climate of hope. Our climate of hope. It is such an amazing event today, and there's no better way to start it off to remind us about hope than the way we just did. If that isn't why we are here today, then we may not be here for the right reasons. That is why we're here today. We're here because Regeneración Pajaro Valley Climate Action is working with partners to empower our community to respond locally to global challenges of climate change. This is what community action looks like. As I said in the beginning, this is probably one of the most diverse groups that have come together for a social cause that I have ever seen in this community. So kudos to Regeneración, kudos to Nancy, and kudos to you for coming here tonight. Regeneración carried out a grassroots survey which has amplified voices not usually heard in this public conversations. Nancy approaches her work with Regeneración as an ally focused on elevating the leadership of people of color. I want to just share with you, because she won't tell you this, she has dedicated hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hours as a volunteer to make this movement happen. Thank you, Nancy.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Maria Elena. I want to echo her in thanking everyone for coming tonight. This is basically my dream come true of what I've been working towards over this past time. So thank you. We're going to start with just saying our name and a key learning for ourselves from being part of the project. So again, I'm Nancy, and really what I found is that action brings me hope. Action leads to hope. And that action then improves my life now and is a great kind of antidote for the despair that I feel when I think about the destruction of the environment that has already happened and what looks like is coming next. So, hopefulness in action. And next was going to be Jaime, right?
And one thing I really enjoyed about the survey process was engaging with people that I would not normally have an opportunity to engage with and to really learn from them the amount of insight that they have.
So talking to people about climate change, all kinds of other things came up, and housing was a huge part. And so it really made clear, so clear, that all of these things are connected, and that people, the poorest among us, are going to be the most affected. So that was a good insight.
So one of the things that was really brought home to me is that we've always known how connected people everywhere are to the earth and have traditions for taking care of the earth where they are. What was brought home to me in this survey is the importance of data collection and science, so that now that, we just know that, right? We know that it's important. But now that we have the data, now we can put policies in place to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves now and for future generations.
I'm happy to be here because I learned from Nancy how to organize and put together an event.
And I learned a lot throughout this survey process. We had surveys given out at our nature center and to our staff. And throughout working with Nancy, it's been very inspiring to see her commitment to not having this just be a checkbox. We're really going to get people out on the ground and talking to folks and making sure that their feedback is heard, because all of our issues and all of our solutions are all very connected, which is why we're all here tonight. So,
And we wanted to build an organization that would be representative of our community from the start. So starting with a small, diverse group of people and then growing from there. We painted a mural under the direction of Jaime Sanchez, which is on Vicky's Produce on Rodriguez Street. We partnered with the Watsonville Film Festival and showed 4 environmental justice films. We designed a video project for Watsonville High School seniors in the Video Academy about living in a changing climate. And we were aware that climate change touches everything, every part of our lives. So there were so many choices, and we thought, let's get more input. Let's hear more about what's important to the community, what could be relevant, rather than our little group just deciding. We found and recruited 25 volunteers from our community to carry out the survey. We were aiming to talk with a representative sample of the community. I'm very happy to say we think we did that pretty well. And so we mostly wanted to find people to be volunteers who were bilingual, bicultural, native Spanish speakers to be able to reach the majority population.
Our goal, as Nancy said, was to get a true cross-section of the community of Watsonville, and we really think we did that. Only 25% of the respondents are homeowners. A lot of the surveys were done downtown and at the farmers market, in laundromats, out on the street, at adult school classes. 73%, almost 3/4, were first-time respondents to a community or a public policy survey.
What was revealed from this survey? Litter and pesticides. That is how we are being harmfully affected by climate change. The pesticides affect agricultural workers mostly. In this slide, we're looking at the suffering that is taking place in the Pajaro Valley. That's the word that is used here. This is the way that people are being affected by climate change. This is what the respondents are reporting. Impact of extreme heat conditions at the workplace by occupation. Our agricultural workers are reporting that in the workplace, they are suffering.
Mi nombre es María. Primeramente, antes de empezar a hablar, quiero dar las gracias a Nancy.
First of all, she wanted to thank Nancy for bringing them here today, let their voices be heard. She works in the fields picking strawberries. Raspberries. Her specifically working in the raspberries because they're working under the plastic, which covers the entire area. So if it's 100 degrees outside, for them it's about 110 or more inside, which produces, difficult impacts and effects in the body, fatigue. They're not able to work in the same under those conditions. They're not able to perform. They're not able to produce as much. It's very difficult, the effects that it has in the body when you're working under those conditions. She had a specific experience with one of her coworkers who, working under the heat, developed an extreme amount of fatigue and just, experiencing all over the body. They actually had to give her air and oxygen to kind of get her going, kind of revive again. She says it's just really difficult because with the unpredictability, if it gets really hot, around 1 or 2, they'll send the workers home. While the supervisors are still making money, their checks are still salary or they're still working, they're not. And so their checks are not as much as what they need. To how the government or the community could get involved to make it better, she really feels like it definitely is a community effort. And then we all have a responsibility to take care of the planet. And the climate change is affecting all of us because of the decisions that we're making. And the trash and the amount of cars that we're using, it's just too much. So we should all have a part and responsibility in doing that, making change. She'd also like to see if the organizations or the government could provide different types of transportation. So she's saying that she works in agriculture. She's been here since 1993. She said it's difficult in her experience. The weather is very unpredictable.
Un poco de calor y un compañero se desmayó dentro del film. Dice que creo que es como un ataque de calor.
Some of the other problems that they faced, she had her son working with her, and he developed a rash all over his skin and the areas where his skin was exposed. Also, sometimes the amount of heat that they experience can be extremely difficult to work, and there's been people who have actually fainted under these type of working conditions.
Pagar lo que uno necesita.
The financial aspect is also extremely difficult due to the high cost of housing around here. They're basically living paycheck to paycheck, and it's barely enough to get by.
También nosotros, ¿verdad? Ayudar y que el gobierno también nos ayudara.
In response to the question, what would she like to see the government do to improve the situation? She's saying that while she's aware that there are programs for low income, not everybody qualifies, and it can be very difficult. And she agrees that everybody needs to help, but it would be very helpful if there were more assistance programs.
We heard so many comments expressing worry about how people will make a living and stay safe in the fields as temperatures rise. So here are just a few. Everyone who's working in agriculture, farm workers, is affected more by the heat. And sometimes we can only work 3 or 4 hours. Some people faint. And in order to prevent heat illness, like fainting and even death, all the things related to extreme heat, field crews are having to start work earlier, far before dawn. One teacher reported that the classroom temperature exceeds 95 degrees, at times over 100. No AC. Human bodies cannot concentrate and learn at these extreme temperatures. But we've heard that the people who are most vulnerable to economic change are also most vulnerable to climate change.
She's definitely seen changes in the climate throughout the years that she's been working in the fields, mainly the problem with the heat and the changes in the heat. It's changed drastically, which really affects their working conditions. They suffer from the effects of the heat, which can affect people in different ways, headaches, fainting. That's one of the issues that they see a lot. To answer the question, how does it affect her financially and economically? She's saying when the heat is too high, they're not able to work under those conditions and they're making less money, which makes it more difficult. She'd like to see the government organizations to provide more help to the families, mostly related to childcare, is where she sees the biggest need. She feels like, they definitely need some changes because when you're working in an unpredictable climate like that, you can't, it's hard to count on the amount of money, and they need a certain amount of money to survive, especially when you have families and kids. So when they're working less hours, their checks are less, which has a ripple effect in their lives.
When we broke down interest for a modern commuter type train on the existing rail line between Watsonville and Davenport, people who currently use the bus as primary transport were very interested, rating it an average of 4.1 on a scale of 5.
In February of 2017, the City of Watsonville voted to join Monterey Bay Community Power. As that grows and those programs funds grow, I think the sky's the limit in terms of what we're going to be able to continue to do with those kinds of programs. Tree planting, for example, we've really been focusing on that a lot this year with the urban forest grant that we have in partnership with Watsonville Wetlands Watch. Jonathan Pilch, I see, is over here. One of the solutions that folks support is that they would like to see their employers taking that initiative to offer carpools, van pools, buses, and that is experienced by those who listed pollution from smog and exhaust as an issue for them, and also for folks who didn't say that was a big issue. They still wanted to see their employers do that.
The workers, they just think about putting food on the table and paying the bills, and they don't really take care of their health. So that was a really bad experience for me. It's traumatizing. And to see the supervisors not caring. I believe in the power of numbers of people, so unity, and we don't have that in the fields. We don't have, we have the UFW, but in reality, I've never seen the UFW in the farms that I've been working. So we don't have like security meetings, we don't have, meetings to state what's going on. And if we do, they don't want people like me to speak up. And so I would like to see more unity, more like the people asking and demanding what we need. And one of the things I saw that we need is daycare. Most of the times during the season where there's a lot of fruit, we start really early and we go home really late. So there's a lot of people that take their children to daycares and preschools, and they're only open till 6 p.m. So a lot of the workers have to leave at 5:30. So for me, I would really like to see big corporations saying, oh, we're going to build a daycare center from when you start working to when you when you end so that you don't have to worry about your child to educate them better. So that I would like to see that, more of that.
So I'm very fortunate to get to work on staff at Ecology Action, but in a way, Nancy, this is my dream too. And when you said that today, it helped me kind of pull together why that is. And when I started learning in college about all the environmental destruction, it was really depressing and overwhelming. But I said, hey, this will save us. Environmental work is about saving us because we all want clean air and clean water for our children. This is a way we can finally agree and come together and work together toward the common good. And so regeneration is really that dream come true for me. It's the place where we can come together to get out of our overwhelm, out of our differences, and get into action to build a future that's based on our values of compassion and equity for all living beings on earth, including each other. There are people in our community that I can now see that are being impacted by climate change. It's no longer an abstract issue. I'm here to encourage you to join us and support action together so we can work together and continue to support regeneration as a specific vehicle and a space for us to come together in solutions. And as Nancy mentioned, it started out completely grassroots and really in some ways still has been, though we've been a formal organization. Nancy really has been leading it, mostly on her blood, sweat, and tears and volunteer effort, and for that she is my heroine. Yes. And so with all the accomplishments that you heard about and this amazing manifested example of the success, we really are committed to establishing this as a resource for not only the Pajaro Valley, but it's an example, one of the first climate action groups, environmental justice groups on the Central Coast. It's a solution for the whole state.
So I have the pleasure to introduce our speaker, Dr. Ferris Saba, the Deputy Superintendent of Schools. Dr. Ferris has lived in Santa Cruz County for nearly 30 years. He is an immigrant to the U.S. who spent his childhood in Iraq and his adolescence in Ecuador. He received a BA from UCSC, a master's degree from San Jose State University, and his doctorate in educational equity from UC Berkeley. I can go on and read these wonderful things, but I just want to say, he is absolutely committed and lives in action to make this community better for our students. So con todo respeto y cariño, Dr. Ferris.
Muchas gracias, María Elena. Reciba un cordial saludo. Gracias por unir sus voces al movimiento para desarrollar conciencia y enfrentar el cambio al clima. Thank you so much for adding your voices to raise consciousness and address climate change. Climate change is the single biggest existential threat facing humanity and other life on Earth. And that does scare me, and it should scare all of us. We talked today about balancing despair with hope. And I think we need to be realistic about the seriousness of what we're facing, and also be hopeful and knowledgeable about the things that we can do to change our trajectory. In this highly polarized political environment, our schools need to be sanctuaries that create learning environments that depoliticize this issue for students and lead to action to address the challenge. Our polarized political process has infected rational discourse. The binary nature of our politics has created a twisted narrative that puts scientific principle on equal footing with wishful thinking, creating a delusional equivalence between science and fantasy. It doesn't help that the very governmental agencies and officials tasked with protecting our environment are at war with the rules and regulations enacted to protect it. Many of us here have committed ourselves in our work in education or in the environment or healthcare or community activism because we believe in creating a world that is more equitable and just. The impacts of climate change affect every country and every continent. The increased frequency and intensity of extreme weather events like hurricanes and wildfires and droughts threaten food supplies, drive people from their homes, separate families, and jeopardize livelihoods. And all of these effects increase the risk of hunger, poverty, and conflict. The challenges we face both locally and abroad disproportionately impact people of color, our youth, and those from low socioeconomic families. Reversing the trends of human-made climate change is about social justice. As we've heard today, the impacts of climate change are being felt right here in the Pajaro Valley. Our farm worker families, who have been the first to experience injustice in housing, in work, in their legal status, are also crying out as their health and livelihood is put at risk because of climate change. I get asked often, what are our schools doing to engage students in the environment, and specifically in climate change? And we're fortunate to live in a state where science instruction is aligned to well-accepted scientific principles. The next generation science standards were adopted in 2013, but districts are still working towards implementing them in our schools. The standards represent a comprehensive approach teaching K-12 science focused on student-driven investigation, critical thinking, and multidisciplinary concepts. The new standards move away from memorizations of science facts to require students to engage in science practices, to think and act like scientists, and to question what they observe in the world around them. In the new standards, climate change falls in the earth and space sciences under the umbrella of earth and human activity. Beginning in kindergarten throughout the grades, students explore environmental interactions and build understanding of natural systems over time. So now both science and history and social science frameworks include environmental principles and concepts that highlight the interdependent relationship between humans and the natural world, and the complexities of decision-making around our natural resources. There are several local efforts in our schools to give youth ways to move from learning to caring to leading and to taking action. There are several Santa Cruz County schools that are implementing projects such as the Solar Summer Academy, PUSD, Wetlands Watch, Watsonville Area Teens Conserving Habitat, and the City of Watsonville Climate Action Plan involves youth. Santa Cruz City Schools has a district-wide watershed education program for fourth graders. And outside of our area, youth have filed a constitutional climate lawsuit called Juliana versus the United States against the U.S. government in the U.S. District Court for the District of Oregon in 2015. Their complaint asserts, through the government's affirmative actions that cause climate change, it has violated the youngest generation's constitutional rights to life, liberty, and property, as well as failed to protect essential public trust resources. The courage of these young people and the growing movement of youth leadership is invigorating and inspiring. Children are resilient and tenacious. Our role is to facilitate the capacity of our young people to develop the knowledge and skills so they can find new solutions to this challenge. The County Office of Education here in Santa Cruz County is ready to partner with other agencies to help students and families to move from learning to caring to leading and taking action, both locally and beyond. Your habitat, the very context we live in, is at risk. Let's join together to take some concrete steps to change our trajectory, and let's continue to inspire our youth to join and lead this fight. Thank you.
So I want to thank you, wherever you stand in that continuum, that you stay firm, that you make an action plan, and that you choose to step and challenge yourself into another direction. So thank you so much, Nancy, for your work, your vision, your dedication, your organization, your commitment to the people of color in this community. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, for participating, and for being our partner. Muchísimas gracias. Muy buenas noches. Adelante.
De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.